management and communication of the partnerships. So like you kind of talked about how the partnerships were managed, kind of just based off of what category they fall in, finding out who is in charge
It's
of what.
crazy. Like
Yeah.
this new executive director, I really like him and I feel
Mhm.
really bad for him. Like, can you imagine? Because he came in, he had to learn all about the San Mateo County Department of Public Health, which is its own huge bureaucracy,
Yeah.
right? So they're partly his boss, but not really. Like, they can't fire him or
Yeah.
hire him. We do that. Then, so his boss is
Mhm.
technically our superintendent,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
But the boss is our school board,
Okay.
but the school board is like, we care about the schools. Like, they often sort
Yeah.
of forget about, they don't do it intentionally, but it's
Mhm.
like, so the oversight and the management of the partnerships is his job as the executive director is to have one foot in the school district, one foot in the county, and then he also has to be constantly working with the city of Daly City.
Okay. Yeah.
And then all like the grants might come from the state, they might come from blah blah blah, they might come like, so he has to be an octopus, like he really
Yeah.
needs tentacles everywhere, and it's really hard. I think it's different from being the executive director of a traditional nonprofit where like
Mhm.
that's just your organization, and so he has to be very political.
Okay.
Like, he has to make connections everywhere, he has to play it, and there's a lot of times like tension, right? The San Mateo County Department of Public Health is going through budget cuts. They want us to cover more than we feel, like there's stuff that happen, there's tensions that happen that he has to balance all the time.
All right. So would you say that that's like one of the challenges of the organization?
Oh, so challenging.
Okay.
That's a huge challenge. Another challenge is that a big challenge actually is that northern San Mateo County
Mhm.
is like the ugly stepchild of the county, right?
Yeah.
And like, so there's a similar-ish kind of partnership down in Sequoia Union High School District,
Okay.
and they have this extra, there's some other like funding nonprofit that
Funding.
just funnels huge amounts of money to that clinic,
Like
right? Because
yeah.
then people down there by Sequoia are much wealthier. And
Wealthier.
they're
Yeah.
like, oh, our youth need help. We're going to donate money. But like people who live in Daly City and Pacifica, not all of them, but
Yeah.
the vast majority of people who live in Daly City are
Don't have
very
that.
low income. And now that the pandemic has happened,
Yeah.
so I would say our biggest challenge,
Mhm.
honestly, is a steady funding stream
Okay.
that's substantial enough,
Mhm.
right? So right now, the San Mateo County Department of Public Health is having huge budget cuts. They wanted to cut our clinic. And we fought, like, the head doctor and everybody fought. And they were like, you tell us how you're going to get services to these young people.
Yeah.
Because Sarah, if you took a bus from Daly City, imagine that all the buses were even running, which they're not now. But if you had to go all the way down to San Mateo to get free health care, would you go?
Probably not. It would.
It's like an hour and a half on
Yeah.
the bus.
Take your
So
whole day.
I think there's a thing about like North County.
Mhm.
Um, it's a desert of services and it's a desert of funding, and
Mhm.
people aren't very interested in Daly City. Like, it's like, oh, that's where those poor brown and black people live.
Yeah.
So that's a huge challenge. I think him dealing with the school board, the school
Mhm.
district, like, I think that's a real big challenge too. And then the third biggest challenge is that we are working with populations that are very vulnerable,
Mhm.
generally disenfranchised, and historically very oppressed. And many of those populations
Yeah.
don't trust healthcare, don't trust mental health. They've been harmed. They've been forgotten. They've been, there's been cases, as like the Tuskegee experiment, like, of abuse. And so to break the barrier of like healthcare and mental health care and reproductive health care is a human right, is actually like, it's your own dignity and right to have it. And it's a form of self-care. Sometimes I think we have a difficulty there. And then the other difficulty layered into that is that people who are living in poverty do not have time to take care of themselves.
Yeah.
To take off work to go to therapy.
It's hard to get time off when you're trying to make the means to support yourself.
Yeah, and when you're at Target, they're not like, oh yeah, you have a therapy appointment, go
Yeah.
take, like, they don't give a
No,
shit.
they don't.
So I think there's some challenges that are around. There are multi layers of challenges. And then we've had a challenge on top of all of that, is that we don't pay well because we're poor. And so we've had a lot of turnover in the last 2 years, and that has really been hard on the center. And so the district were really hard, and we did increase pay for the executive director, for the behavioral health manager. And so now we have to figure out how to get more money in to increase the pay for the project play staff. Like they get paid. It's like $25 an hour. It's just totally a joke. Like who can,
Yeah.
Yeah. So you
It's hard to
understand.
live off of that in the area.
Hard. Especially
Communicate with it, like on the advisory board, like, do you guys like meet once a month?
like meet once a month, and then he just started emailing updates to us
Okay.
before the meeting. So that's kind of nice. So people have something to read before.
So you know what you're going to discuss prior to.
Yeah, we're still working on, again, with the new change of the new executive director, and we're working on like.
We're going to go ahead and talk about management and communication. So how is this partnership managed? Which means like who's on the board, who's in charge of doing this? How does that work?
So it works through, a lot of it is tied to grant funding, and that's through the Strong Workforce Program K through 14 funding that's received. And the partnership is typically between the dual enrollment specialist, myself, a career tech ed coordinator, and then usually the dean of strategic planning at the community college level. And then they're the main people. And as programs are being built, the deans of different pathways are brought in. So for example, we just set up a dance pathway transition dual enrollment program. And the dean of the dance performing arts department was then brought in once that agreement starts to get in the works and talked about.
And then can you please describe a few of the challenges that have happened because this organization or this partnership has been faced with?
Some of the challenges are, especially right now when everything is on distance learning, has been enrolling students and getting students enrolled at the community college, because when they're in high school, so they're taking a high school class, they're enrolled in that high school class, but a dual enrollment class has also been embedded into it, and they need to enroll and register at the community college to receive that credit and enter that course. So just getting students onboarded has not always been easy to do right now. That's one of our biggest challenges.
And how do you communicate with your partners at the community colleges? Is this through email, conference calls, weekly meetings, monthly meetings?
Emails and conference calls right now. Typically before COVID hit, we were meeting quarterly, and then we meet more at the end of the year to plan for the next year, and more at the beginning of the school year to onboard and get things going.
Got it. Thank you. So now we're going